What is going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Daily Energy Newsbeat Stand-Up here on this gorgeous Thursday, September 28th, 2023. As always, I'm your humble correspondent, Michael Tanner, coming to you from an undisclosed location here in Dallas, Texas, joined by the executive producer of the show, the purveyor of the show, and the director and publisher of the world's greatest website, EnergyNewsbeat.com, Stuart Turley. My man, how we doing today?
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and holy smokes, Batman. Just when you thought the news was going to slow down, nah.
Absolutely not. You always keep it running. We've got an absolutely packed menu. First up, Jackson buys 5. The town of Jackson buys 8 electric buses for transit system. Catches, none of them are working. So Stu will cover what's going on there in Jackson. Next up, exclusive Shell CEO comes under pressure from within on renewable shift. Next up, EPA's illegal power play. And then finally, Saudi Arabia considers a surprising bet on Iranian oil and gas. We'll see what they've got going on in Saudi. Stu will then kick it over to me. I'll quickly cover what happened in the overall markets today. Not much movement one way or the other. Overall, we did see oil prices jump tremendously, though. I'm going to push back a little bit on the reason for that. Crude oil storage numbers from the EIA dropped 2.2 million barrel draw, but not really sure the underlying issue with where oil prices went. We'll unpack it all and a bag of chips later, guys. But first, as always, the stories and analysis you are about to hear are brought to you by the world's greatest website, EnergyNewsbeat.com, the best place for all your energy news and how to stay up to speed with the ever-changing marketplace. You can hit the description below, see all the timestamps. You can subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can also subscribe to the video on YouTube at Energy Newsbeat. Hit that subscribe button. The best way to keep up to speed and support the show is to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Never miss an episode. You can check out dashboard.energynewsbeat.com. Email the show questions at energynewsbeat.com. Let's go ahead and kick this off, though, Stu. Where do you want to begin?
Hey, let's go ahead and start with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia considers a surprising bet on Iranian oil and gas. I didn't see this one coming around the corner. Iran has about 50 billion in oil and gas projects that are in the works. They've run out of money. They happen to have $6 billion that they were just released by the Biden administration. So they got a little bit of money.
Mm-hmm.
But Saudi is about ready to kick this right in the pants. Let's go through some of this. The National Iranian Oil Company, NIOC, has around 50 billion in oil and gas related projects now underway, with more even coming further. Iran has done a great job in avoiding all of the sanctions on the nuclear really, really well over the last few years. But around 20 billion of this will go to completing the supergiant South Paris natural gas field. Natural gas, one of the biggest gas fields in the world, stretches over 33,700 square kilometers and 14.2 trillion cubic meters of gas reserves, plus 18 billion barrels of gas condensate. Sorry, excuse me. Michael, is that a fairly big reserve?
Yeah, it's not small.
Think we could drill it?
Yeah, 33 TCF of gas. Yeah, there's a little bit there.
Oh, okay, cool. And what they're doing is they're getting into the LNG rush. The LNG story is going to be here for years. So when Iran has another 6 billion sitting there that they've been given, and then you have, wait a minute, Saudi Arabia is seeing the long-term play there. It's kind of like BRICS is now including Iran. So it's like, holy smokes, Batman, this oil, all this is now coming to fruition.
Well, what's Saudi doing? They're specifically targeting the petrochemical sector through all of this, where they probably see a lack of their own refining capability. Now, if we could bridge the gap and use the petrochemical gap with Iran to bridge that, it maybe makes sense. So I think it's interesting what Saudi Arabia is doing. They've clearly been thinking long-term, considering they've started this process at the end of 2017, moving into 2018, but super interesting what they're doing and how, at the end of the day, commerce mends all wounds.
It does. And Saudi first and Iran first is what this is saying again.
What's next?
Let's go to the EPA's illegal power play. Michael, can you believe the audacity of the EPA to come up with an illegal power play, Michael?
I didn't see it coming.
I didn't see that one coming. The U.S. Supreme Court ruling in West Virginia versus EPA last year. Boy, everybody was just shouting around on that bad dog. It was a historic defeat for the EPA. Ruled that the 2015 Clean Power Plan by President Obama's, that was his big time climate agenda. Do you remember that? Was unconstitutional and dramatically limited the EPA's power to regulate. All right. The article is fantastic, Michael. It says you could either have two outcomes. You could either take its lumps and then go work on real regulatory issues, or it could throw everything into the boat and try to go for one last attempt to hit a home run with no bat. What do you think they're going to do?
They're going to take the home run and try to force their way down our throats.
Oh, yeah. And so what they're going to try to do is put these through before next summer so that they can at least be in the court system as a political win for Mr. Biden. Under the proposed rule, this is just, Michael, what they're saying is it's called a new source performance standard, an NSPS, and they're talking about new performance standards for the grid, natural gas and coal for retrofitting. They didn't even make any rules because they said we're not building anymore, so we're not going to need them. What? Huh? So they're not giving the power companies any directions. Okay. Larger new modified combined natural gas plants, 30% of the nation's electricity would be required to achieve close to zero carbon emissions by either implementing carbon capture and storage, which is CCS, and not, if you add the utilization, it'd be utilization if the CCUS, if they could sell it.
But you got to drop the utilization because trust me, we don't know how to utilize it yet.
There's a lot of Diet Cokes that people are going to have to drink in order to get that.
Yeah.
And so let's see, what was that part? Oh, capture 90% of the carbon emissions by 2035, or by switching from natural gas to 98% green hydrogen by 2038. Okay.
Is green hydrogen even ready?
No. It probably won't be ready until 2040. I mean, holy smokes, Batman. No, this is like somebody had a bad dream. They woke up and said, hey, let's get electric buses. Oh, we'll cover that here in a sec. It is absolutely ludicrous. I mean, okay, I love Oklahoma and I love OSU and I love Oklahoma University. But this is so dumb. Even nobody from Oklahoma University could have had anything to do with this. This is so dumb. It's even below them.
Below CU. No, it's stupid. You said it all in the beginning. It's all for political wins. They don't really care if it passes. They just need something for President Biden to campaign on. And unfortunately, it comes at the expense of forcing a lot of extra stuff going on that doesn't need to happen in terms of, all of this new looking at regulation, get everybody stirred up for ultimately nothing's going to happen. Super annoying.
Oh, it's just pathetic. And what's happening, Michael, is we're seeing around the world this push, this gigantic, it started with the Prime Minister of England, and then it got into Shell. This one, Shell, is now under the pressure because they're now saying, hey, wait a minute, since the Prime Minister of England said, hey, we got to push it out 5 more years, all of a sudden, all the big boys, big oil and every energy, Total Energy has already said it. And Shell, Wild Swan, that's a funny name, has already come under pressure in an open letter posted this month. Let's see, where is it? Quote, for a long time, this guy was Thomas Brostrom. After less than 2 years, he was out. He quit. And he said, quote, for a long time, it has been Shell's ambition to be a leader in the energy transition. It's the reason we work here. The recent announcements at and after the capital markets that day deeply concern us, and we can only hope the optics of the CMD announcements are deceiving and that Shell continues its path as a leader in the energy transition. You know, how can they pay for the energy transition if there's no profits? The taxpayers are now not bidding on offshore wind, and there's a whole money paradigm shift changing right now in the renewables. So I thought this was pretty interesting when you and I talked, I believe 2 weeks ago, Michael. Shell, BP, and all these others started following the U.S. big oil companies and backing away from renewables. I thought this was a pretty good article.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing, it's nice to see a company be able to take criticism from internally and turn it into a positive. And I love the quote from the CEO: for an organization at the crux of the energy transition, there are no easy answers and no shortages of dilemmas or challenges. They also saw a spokesperson come out and said, we appreciate our staff that are engaged and have passion about the energy transition and sell. Then a bunch of googly gob after that. But I love that they're standing behind this guy and these two people. They're not completely throwing them under the bus, because he's right. There is some, you know, something's got to go here. If you're going to lean more, you know, they say, Shell keeps saying they're going to lean more into operational efficiency. Well, you know what that means. Oil and gas projects.
Drill more wells.
Exactly. Get more oil. So we know exactly what that stands for. All right, what's next?
Let's go to the Jackson buys 8 electric buses for transit system. None are working. Hang on. Wait a minute. Oh, this is the vice president. She wants to cut in. She loves buses so much. She just wants to take the story from us. So, okay, sorry. Okay, the wheels on the bus. Let's go down here. This is actually pretty funny. It's from Jackson Hole News and Guide reports that the last of the electric buses went out for service 2 months ago, Michael, and the broken buses have been waiting parts for months. This is really kind of sad. They were so excited to get them. He said it's difficult to move forward with road projects and community with a strong voice of not in my backyard. You got to love not NIMBYs, not in my backyard. Yeah. And so instead, a majority wanted driving to remain inconvenient in hopes that people would ride more bikes in public transit. That's not very practical.
Yeah, I mean, this just seems to be the continual case with renewables. It seems to be that there's you know, we spend all of this capital up front to roll these things out, then they break down and they don't even necessarily do the job, and now they go bankrupt.
Oh, here's the part I loved in it. Range shrinkage. He said shrinkage.
It's just shrinkage. It's just shrinkage.
All I can see is George Costanza saying in the corner,
just shrinkage.
It was cold water. It was. So the bus just had shrinkage, and they had to return to the depot at midday to recharge, and they replaced by another or diesel-powered buses. Yeah. There's a difference in performance in cold weather and warm weather. Oh, that's where the shrinkage joke comes in.
It all comes back to shrinkage, folks.
Now you know why I wanted to pick the story. All we needed out of this story was a peaker. Like there was a manhole peaker. Oh, I said peaker. Sorry.
That's funny. What else you got? Is that it?
That's it, man. I had too much fun today picking the stories.
Well, cool. We'll kick it over to finance quickly, guys. I mean, not much for the S&P 500 and NASDAQ. S&P flat, only about really a tenth of a percentage point. NASDAQ, 0.2 of a percentage point. Oil's really what ran. Open the day below 89. Open the day just at 90.83. Currently trading 93.85. Time stands 5:50 p.m. here on the 27th. So pretty good day for crude. If you tuned into Reuters, they'd tell you that it was due to the EIA crude oil storage drop of only 2.2 million barrels. So to spoil the headline, EIA comes out. We saw yesterday it was supposed to be about a 1.5 million barrel build. EIA comes out and says, oh, nope, it's actually 2.2 million barrel draw. The issue is everybody freaked out because they finally looked at the report and realized the Cushing stocks are down. I mean, I read this quote that we've got from Andrew Lippow, president of Lippo Oil Associates, who probably just went ahead and opened up the crude oil storage numbers today. Thank you. Good job, Andrew. The market is being led up by storage numbers as we are getting to minimal operational inventories at Cushing. Folks, hello, McFly. We've been trending this way for months and even years. And we just now decided at Lippo Oil Associates to wake up and say, oh, wait a second. Cushing's at dangerously low levels. You don't think.
And people are selling the U.S. Treasuries. Go figure that out.
Look at dashboard.energynewsbeat.com, folks. You'll see crude oil storage numbers over historically. Hit the 5-year button, folks. It's down,
and you
baby,
also
down.
see the SPR there.
Yeah, well, the SPR, led by the SPR, but Cushing is also getting extremely low, which it's been trending that way for weeks. My point is, I see moves like this, and the justifications for those moves don't seem to add up. Now, what was really the cause of the move? I think the overall tightness of the market is really what's driving this up. Is it the fact that we think we're going to run out of oil at Cushing? No. People, guys like Andrew may have just rolled out of bed this morning like, oh, it's EIA Wednesday day. Okay, great. Take a look at what happened. Is that what's moving the markets in terms of this big move? No, it has much more to do with the long-term fundamental outlook than I think some day-to-day movements here. So I was getting a good giggle out of this, Stu.
You got to love it.
Gotta love it.
How do we get him more coffee? Oh, that's a nice mug.
He needs it's a great mug. I love our combo curve mug.
Yeah, love that.
Clearly he's not using combo curve to do his valuations because he's clearly not. We know that.
No.
All right, Stu, it's been a great
How
week.
does he get a hold of you to teach him how to do that, right?
Hey, my contacts information's in the show notes. You call us, we'll help you with any valuation you need. Trust me, we're not waking up at 9:28 just to tune into crude oil storage and trade some oil. I'll tell you that much.
No.
What should people be worried about this weekend, Stu? We're off now. This is the last they'll hear of us.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. There's some more decisions coming around the corner. We just got stupidity coming out of the current administration. I'm hearing rumblings of some things next week that just make me want to throw up.
Well, we'll make sure to leave that to next week, guys, but we appreciate you checking us out. Tomorrow, on Friday, you'll be able to listen to our weekly weekly recaps on Saturday. What drops Friday?
We've got Todd Royal, and he is a nuclear geek. They just rolled it out on the LinkedIn little splurb on it, and so it's rolling out Friday. I'm excited. That was a fun podcast. Great for Todd.
Nope. Gotta love Todd Royal over there. You can check out the weekly recap. Otherwise, we will see you guys on Monday, folks. For Stuart Turley, I'm Michael Tanner.